First two rows. First two rows. They can come this way. Better. Hello. Good morning. ठीक है. Should we start? Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you and a warm welcome from all of us at HelpAge India. We thank you all for joining us today, those who are here with us and those who are joining via the live stream. I request you all to please take your seats and I request you to put your mobiles on either silent mode or flight mode. We've come together today to mark International Day of Older Persons. It's going to be an action-packed and enlightening few hours, so let's begin. To set the tone of intergenerational bonding, I request some students and senior citizens to please come on stage for the lighting of the inaugural lamp. Thank you very much. I request my colleagues to please escort our guests back to their seats. And I now request Mr. Rohit Prasad, CEO, HelpAge India, to please come on stage to give the welcome address.
Good morning, everyone. Namaste, greetings. On behalf of HelpAge India, a very warm welcome to all who have joined us today, and as she mentioned, all those who are joining us on live stream. Today is a special day for all of us. International Day of Older Persons, or IDOP as it's called, is a day to highlight the issues concerning the senior citizen. But it's also a day to celebrate and recognize the immense achievements, contributions, and potential. Respect and care for our elders is something deep-rooted in our Indian culture and traditions. But there are many significant shifts happening. We see demographic transition, changes in living arrangements, and changes in social systems and values. Over the next 25 years, we will see the 60-plus age group increase from 10% to 20% of population, which means from 1 in 10 to 1 in 5. So along with the challenges, it will bring immense opportunities also to take advantage of both the youth dividend as well as what we now call the longevity dividend. Our country has established a very strong and enabling policy and program framework, and now it's planning for the future. Just recently, Niti Aayog, which is our national planning body, has formed a committee to develop a comprehensive senior care strategy with a Viksit Bharat 2047 perspective. The government has taken, very recently the government has taken a very transformational step of including all 70-plus senior citizens under what's called the Ayushman Bharat program. It's the health insurance hospitalization program. A few years back, the Ministry of Social Justice, which is the nodal ministry for senior citizens, set up what's called the Elder Line. Many of you may be familiar with it. It's a national helpline for senior citizens, and the number is 14567. And HelpAge is proud to be a party to that particular initiative. Several state governments are now beginning to review their policy frameworks and their programs for senior citizens. So these are all directionally very positive steps, and as is much needed, it is in the spirit of reframing and reimagining the future for senior citizens. At HelpAge, as a national organization that works with communities on the ground, we have dedicated ourselves to the cause and care of disadvantaged older persons. Our programs and interventions, 80% of those are in rural and remote areas, and 65% are addressed towards older women. And they are all focused on different areas like healthcare, livelihoods, and empowerment programs. But aging with dignity is our foremost goal. I would like to share a short film with you all on the work that HelpAge does.
कुछ पाने की हो आस आस, कोई अरमा हो जो खास खास आशाएं, हर कोशिश में हो बार बार करे दरियाओं को आर पार आशाएं, तूफानों को चीर के मंजिलों को छीन ले, आशाएं ले दिल की, उम्मीदें हंसे दिल की, अब मुश्किल नहीं कुछ भी, नहीं कुछ भी, आशाएं ले दिल की, उम्मीदें हंसे दिल की, अब मुश्किल नहीं कुछ भी, नहीं कुछ भी।
work is driven by colleagues across our country, more than 1,000 help-aid staff. But more importantly, we work with a lot of partners on the ground, with the health systems and with the community systems that we work with. So let me now, I mentioned before that it's a special day for us. And in this IDOP, we have chosen a very special theme. And the theme is a society for all ages, unlocking opportunities. So I wanted to give you some idea why we chose this theme. And as you would see, when we say the society for all ages, we mention many generations living together and longer together. But aging has something that always has been seen as a negative frame. Aging is not seen with positive association. But aging per se is not a challenge. And the most revered greeting that you hear from elders is Ayushman Bhava. May you live 100 years. May you live long. And that's the positive association with living long and living better. But the challenge for us is to solve how we look at aging. So first, how do we think and talk about our later years? And there we need to change our frame, not see it as a decline, but as a phase with its own demands, but also with its own dividends. Not as a cost, but as a resource, as an asset. Second, how do we plan for age preparedness? We did a study some time back, and we found that as a country, or as a family, or as an individual, we are essentially not prepared for the later years. But remember that at the age of 60, one would now expect to live another minimum 20 years, which is 1/4 of our lives, if you may think it from that perspective. And also, that while we have 14 crores, 60 plus population in a total population of 140 crores, we also have another 14 crores who are in the range of 50 to 60 age group. So if we start early and we start thinking about age preparedness, there's a better future for all of us. Third, there is this aspect about how do we think from an ecosystem perspective. Elders are 10% of the population, but that's just a phase of life. If you think from an ecosystem perspective, then families, systems, cities, all systems must orient themselves to an age-inclusive approach. And in particular, we must keep our focus on the vulnerable population. And there are significant vulnerability in the elders community. For example, those who live in rural areas, those who are living alone and single, and there's a rising number of people who are living alone and single. There's a rising 80 plus population who have their own unique demands and needs. And finally, the older women. We know that older women face significant disadvantages, and the vulnerability there is much higher. So in today's panel discussions that will follow the inaugural sessions, and I welcome all the experts today who have joined us, we will be highlighting two very powerful forces or approaches or strategies, as you may call it. One is unlocking opportunities when generations come together. The intergenerational pathways or strategies can be magical when they leverage each other's strengths, be it in care, knowledge sharing, learning systems, and lifelong learning is something that needs much more emphasis, or workplaces. And as the saying goes, the youth can walk faster, but the elder knows the road. And the other powerful force is leveraging multi-sector partnerships. And we know that the private sector, the philanthropy, the social sector, all of them have their unique strengths. But when they come together and partner, then it can be far more impactful. So resonating our theme, I'm delighted that today, in this audience itself, we have a truly multi-generational audience. And many of our help-age partners are also present. So first of all, I would like to mention to all of you that we have 60 leaders of senior citizen associations in Delhi, and they represent the force of the seniors, and I would like you to welcome them with a huge round of applause. So big warm welcome to them and regards to them. And I'm also delighted that, as you would have seen around you, that we have young cause champions and the bright and vibrant young faces that you see in the audience are shining bright today. We also have the youth represented, and we have students from colleges and institutions, those who are doing internships, the researchers who are examining the cause of aging and the elderly. We are also privileged to have our partners and supporters with us, the private sector, the CSR leaders, development institutions, CSO partners, and all the agencies that we work with. A special acknowledgement for all the thousands of individuals who are not here, but they are around the country who trust us and support us. It is with immense gratitude that we recognize their partnership for the cause. And as I mentioned in the beginning, it is a special day for us. And it's special because we have Ms. Sharmila Tagore amongst us. It's my honor to welcome her into the HelpAge family. And we'll, of course, be doing this more formally in a short while. So thank you very much once again, all of you who have joined today. It's a special day to mark International Day of Older Persons. And as we progress through the day, we will work on this theme further. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. And as sir said, ma'am, thank you so much for joining us here today and gracing us with your presence. I request you, ma'am, to please come on stage for the inaugural session. And I would also request our chairperson, Mr. Kiran Karnik, our vice chairperson, Ms. Rumjum Chatterjee, and governing body member, Ms. Radhika Bharatlam, to please join ma'am on stage, as well as Mr. Rohit Prasad. Mr. Karnik, I request you to now please give the opening address.
Thank you. Good morning and welcome to this very special event. Delighted to see the audience that we have. As Rohit just mentioned, we truly have all ages here, an intergenerational audience, and I want to welcome each one of you, with a special mention of the senior citizens groups, fellow elders who are here, and all the younger people, soon to be elders, not soon, but one day to be elders and join us, hopefully some time away. The elders have become slowly but surely a force because of their numbers, but also and most importantly, because of their contribution to society. And it's not just past contributions, as many people imagine, that yes, you've done a great deal in your working years, and now 60 plus you're retired. But today, with active aging, I know so many of you continue to be so active in a whole host of causes, from social causes to education to just home care, so critical, passing on values, insights, and wisdom to the next generation. So welcome to each of you, and also to those who are joining us online. I want to mention a very special person today and a very warm welcome to her, Ms. Sharmila Tagore. We are delighted that you've come and are gracing us with your presence, and she will continue to help and guide us as we go forward. You'll hear of that a little bit. Rohit mentioned the many agencies that are involved in the cause of elder care. The Ministry of Social Justice, as he said, is a nodal agency, but there are many, many others involved, because for elders, as in every citizen, there's a whole host of needs, services, and contributions that they can make. And therefore, the number of agencies involved within the government, and then in each state, and then also at the local panchayat or municipal corporation level, numerous agencies. In addition, there is the private and public sector, academia, voluntary organizations of all kinds which work on this. And what we need to see is how best can we coordinate, pull together, and importantly synergize the effort of all these agencies as we go forward, so that we derive both the full benefits of the experience, wisdom, and abilities of elders, but also support those, particularly those who are destitute and have serious problems. This has been the focus of HelpAge, to see how can we help those who are disadvantaged. And they may be disadvantaged in a variety of ways. Maybe health, it may be emotional, physical health, it could be livelihoods, it could be just some need for special skills that will help them to do more than what they're doing today. And it's this task that HelpAge has taken, and it is in this that we look for coordinating with the various agencies that are working and seeing how can we bring about a multi-agency coordination so that we can truly push forward the theme of this day today, the International Day of Older Persons, the theme of really a society for all ages. So we are looking at how best one can create, conceive, plan, and build a society where all ages give off their best, can contribute their best, and are helped to do so by the numerous agencies, schemes, policies, and the activities of all those charged with doing this. In this, the biggest stakeholder is obviously us, the elders ourselves. And we must be central to this, both in terms of how we contribute and in terms of advocating our own cause. In both, I feel there's a lot of scope to do much more. In advocating the cause of the elders and taking it forth to wherever you may be working, in an organization, in your community, in your society, and also in contributing to that. There's a great deal that each of us brings in terms of, as I said, experience, knowledge, wisdom, and as Rohit so well put it, guiding those who can go fast but don't know which road to take, to say what is the right direction, what is that North Star which they might follow. I think it is this in which we can do a great deal. And as we go forth, today is one more milestone. It's not just an event, it's something which we take off from here. And I'm looking forward to the discussions today, which will help us to flesh this out, to put something around it, to put together a plan which we can take forward in the times to come, so that we can truly create a society for all ages. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for that inspiring address. We've now reached a very special segment of our program, and I request Ms. Rumjum Chatterjee to please come to the podium to do the honors.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are very privileged to have in our midst a very special person, Sharmila Tagore, and I just want to read out a little bit about her. She needs no introduction because I'm sure all of you know her. But here goes. At 14, she was Satyajit Ray's Apurna in the global classic Opus Shongshar. At 23, she was the object of Shami Kapoor's attention, water skiing in a swimsuit in An Evening in Paris. In her mid-70s, she was an independent-minded matriarch who decided to live for herself in the movie Gulmohar. In between, she has been a grieving widow in Aradhana, a long-suffering Pushpa in Amar Prem, and a displaced immigrant in Mississippi Masala. Very few actors, male or female, have been able to straddle the world of art house cinema and commercial movies as she has. Ladies and gentlemen, Sharmila Tagore is one of the greatest actors in Indian cinema and a woman for all ages. How many women can say they have made the journey from Ray's classics to Shakti Samanto's potboilers, from Yash Chopra's modern women to Gulzar's feisty characters? Sharmila ji has done that and more. Relocating to Mumbai at 17, she has always had a strong sense of self, standing up for herself, making her own choices, and quietly blazing a trail. She married one of cricket's most accomplished princes, had 3 wonderful children while continuing to make memorable movies, and slipped into the role of Begum of Pataudi with an ease that came naturally to one who is related to the great Rabindranath Tagore. She has involved herself in intellectual, social, and cultural pursuits that have meant generous amounts of time devoted to charitable work. A consummate professional, a compassionate private person, and a gracious public figure, Sharmila Tagore is an iconic star. She has been a jury member of the Cannes Film Festival, chairperson of the Central Board of Film Certification, and a Goodwill Ambassador for the United Nations. She associated with HelpAge India and the cause of older persons during the COVID-19 pandemic. She graced a HelpAge India event in June last year, where the focus was on older women. She articulated her views on active aging, especially in the context of empowerment of older women. We are very fortunate that she has given us so much joy as an actor, and we are delighted that she has agreed to become brand ambassador for HelpAge India. She is the epitome of active and healthy aging and a role model for women of all ages. Ageless icon, effortless star, a beloved style icon. HelpAge India's brand ambassador, Sharmila Tagore. We have a little film that we can screen now. Yeah.
Thank you. I now request the HelpAge family to please present a token of gratitude to Ms. Tagore for coming on board as our honorary brand ambassador and lending her invaluable support to the elder cause. Ms. Tagore, I would request you to please share a few words with the audience.
Welcome to all of you. A very good morning. And thank you, Rumjumji, for what a wonderful introduction. I don't know whether I deserve it or not, but one thing I must object to, you can't call me the greatest, because that is something still to be seen, you know, and I don't think it's a competition. It's just that it's wonderful to be part of an industry and part to be, you know, able to reach out to people and receive their love, and I think that's the prize. And all of you have already heard Rohitji, the CEO who spoke so well, and Kiran Karnikji, who's been associated with HelpAge for such a long time. So please bear with me. I have to say a few words, but thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm really moved, and I think for a long time I felt, but I wasn't. I felt a little nervous, and I'm also going to be 80 now in December. So just was wondering whether I can fulfill the, you know, what is expected of me. But with your encouragement and this kind of impetus that I feel right here, I'm sure I'll be able to do it. And thank you very much. Thank you very much. And like I said, I don't know how really to begin. Honestly, if I may say so, I was a bit nervous taking on this role. It is a huge responsibility, but something which is close to my heart. I have been aware of HelpAge and the work it does, and have been connected to the cause over the last few years in some way or the other. I remember when COVID happened in 2020, HelpAge ran a campaign on NDTV. I think it was called Save Our Seniors, right? And I saw the amazing work it was doing on ground and decided to give my support in whichever way I could. And then last year, in June, I was invited to be a part of their event focusing on women and aging, and that really, really resonated with me. Aging is a highly misunderstood word and brings with it varied preconceived notions. What happens when one retires? Or say one turns from 59 to 60. Does one suddenly overnight lose their persona, faculties, talent, or whatever you may call it? You are still you, but now have been tagged with words like frail, dependent, old-fashioned, slow, tired, and whatnot. Ageism is sadly something that exists. We tend to paint all older people with the same brushstroke. Each individual is different. The assumption that as you age, you're fragile, dependent, unable to take care of yourself, or assumed to be less capable or productive is debatable. Yes, there are many of our peers who are not so fortunate to have the best of health and economic and social security, and are heavily dependent on others for existence. Yes, there are people like that, a very real problem that needs to be addressed and are being addressed by organizations like HelpAge. But then there are also many of us who choose to stay independent and active. If one leads a healthy lifestyle, takes care of oneself, one can easily lead an active and productive life post 60. The saying that aging is not just lost youth, but a new stage of opportunity and strength is something I truly believe in. Just now you can see the power of cinema when the music sort of went off. It kind of cheered us up, really. As they say, change is inevitable, but one must embrace it and evolve with it. I think that's very important. I have led a very active and a public life, and I have been working, as you saw, from the age of 14, and I have thoroughly enjoyed that process and been fortunate to be a part of the world of cinema and play different roles and characters. Being an actor also, I think, allows you to explore, understand different perspectives, lives, mindsets, and I feel also makes you less judgmental and more sensitive to the gray areas of human behavior. And it is important not to box people into categories, and that often happens with age. We can't help it. I'm now at that stage in my life where I'm enjoying this phase, choosing my work, doing what resonates with me, and still exploring and learning new things every day. It is also coincidental that my work in cinema is also making me explore the nuances of aging and the second innings of my life. Through projects like Gulmohar, like Outhouse, and I recently made a Bengali film that I think everybody must see, which is not released yet, called Puraton. I think that's the best performance of my life. I choose to be active and productive, and I know that I am responsible for me. To expect that my children should leave everything and look after myself, I don't think that's quite fair. Yes, one feels that when there is a need, when there's an emergency or a health crisis, they're there. And I also continue to share many wonderful moments with my family. But at the same time, I feel that it's very important to remain independent and active and have a life of your own. I stay in Delhi on my own. All three children are in Mumbai. They're very busy with their work. But we keep in touch, and I know they care for me, and I care for them, and they will be with me if I really need them. But at the moment, I'm enjoying my independence. I'm enjoying meeting with lots of people, being active. And also, one shouldn't forget, there are wonderful friends that one acquires over the years. And my film, Amar Prem, talks about that, because nobody is a biological part of a family. The man who's not her husband actually looks after her. The boy who's not really her own son looks after her. So there will always be somebody. If you maintain a relationship with your neighbor or with your friends, they are there also to help you. I'm so happy to see so many peers sitting here today. And all of you bring with you your unique life experience. And that is the richness we are also celebrating today. And I'm also very happy to see a lot of young faces. Studies have shown that we all know there is a lot of new things that we can learn from the young, especially this digital world, all these complexities of buttons and knowing what to do. That is quite beyond me, and that is my young friends teach me, and I try and learn from them. And I think they also learn a lot from us because we have lived a little longer. We've seen many different eras of India. So from our life experiences, I think we can also teach them something if they have the patience and the time. We are there to help them. On a lighter note, we are not going anywhere, so we better ensure that we live longer. We also live an empowered and healthy life. I think we owe that to ourselves. And naturally, as life expectancy increases, as everybody said, people of a wider range of age groups are coexisting for longer periods, making strong intergenerational relations crucial for living an active, healthy, and happy life, creating a sustainable future for all ages. I was very happy to learn that HelpAge started off with a school program about 46 years ago and is still continuing. I think that is very encouraging. And I think it's important not only to have older friends, which I've already said, of our own age groups, but also young friends who help us stay abreast with this fast-paced, ever-recovering digital world. And I know that my mother, she had friends from all age group. And towards the end, there were so many young people who would come and talk to her and cheer her up, take her to the hospital, whatever she wanted to do, take her. She loved going out and, go out to restaurants, but they were there for her. And I've seen that, and I know the importance of young people in one's life. It makes us also feel younger and more, inspires us, truly. I think today's theme, Towards a Society for All Ages, is exactly what is needed, but there has to be a systemic change, which means all stakeholders must play their part, whether it be civil society, educational institutions, corporates, public sector, policymakers, the youth, and us together. I think we have to, all of us need to get together and try and make a difference. There are examples everywhere of older persons being active, contributive members of society in cities, towns, villages. One inspiring story that sort of stayed with me was that of this 70-year-old lady, Kanchan Devi from Bihar. She was struggling to survive during the pandemic with barely enough food to feed herself and her family, as her income and livelihood had completely stopped and she was under heavy debt. She got enrolled into HelpAge India's Elder Self-Help Group program and literally reinvented herself by taking on the task of making COVID masks, from the sale of which she and her family got a new lease of life. She repaid all her debts and became well respected in her village community. There were very few women in that village who had ever done any kind of business. I believe she's called a village entrepreneur. As demand started increasing, she then went on and got her son and daughter-in-law also involved in the project, providing them as well with a source of livelihood. So you can see that each generation can help the other, can reinvent themselves, and one can never retire from life. Never retire from life. There is much that is yet to be done, yet to be explored. It is mind-boggling that varied kind of outreach HelpAge does in areas of healthcare, aged care, livelihoods, disaster response, digital literacy, safety, research, advocacy, and rights awareness, and etc. There's a lot of work. They're out there doing it. Honestly, I'm still wrapping my head around the magnitude of this work and the sheer geographical spread of HelpAge. 26 states, I believe, that you are in and making such a difference, and that's such a wonderful thing to know and now to be part of. I'm looking forward to this new chapter, and I'm committed to my role as HelpAge India's brand ambassador, and I hope that I can help to walk along with you and make a difference. And also be the voice that amplifies elder concerns, raises awareness, and urges people to come forward more vociferously to support this cause. Aging is inevitable, and if we want to ensure that the older persons and following generations live life with dignity and are empowered, we must be together, work together for creating a society for all ages. And I think unless we do that, I think coming together and working together is imperative. And we need the young with us. I think that is the message. And they will help us, and they can also learn from us. I have lots to teach. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that inspiring and evocative address. And it touched on so many of the themes that HelpAge India believes in, works with. I now invite Ms. Bharatram to formally announce the launch of HelpAge India's campaign, Generations Together.
Namaste Shamila ji, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests. Today I stand before you to discuss a vital topic, intergenerational bonding, or IGB. In our fast-paced world, the traditional joint family, where multiple generations live together and shared daily interactions, has become increasingly rare. In these households, respect for the elderly and love for the young flourished through daily socialization. Children learn to appreciate their grandparents, absorbing their wisdom and stories, while grandparents found joy in nurturing the younger generation. However, as we embrace nuclear families, especially in metropolitan areas, we face new challenges. While some families manage to live in proximity, the connection often weakens as children grow. Adolescence brings a shift. Young people find themselves engrossed in technology, and it's come up so many times, while grandparents struggle to understand this new way of life. This disconnect can lead to misunderstandings and conflict, often rooted in differing perspectives and lifestyles. So how can we foster intergenerational understanding and bridge this widening gap? One promising approach is through intentional intergeneration programs. These initiatives bring young and old together, allowing them to connect through shared activities, thus fostering mutual respect and understanding. Consider the inspiring example from Singapore. There, young people volunteer in elder care homes, providing companionship and support. Programs like Retired Senior Volunteer Program engages seniors in mentoring school children, while community centers co-locate childcare and elder care services, promoting spontaneous interactions. These initiatives create vibrant intergenerational relationships that benefit everyone involved. At my school, at the Shriram School, we have a program called the Silver Surfer, where high school students run a digital literacy initiative for the elderly. We witness remarkable transformation in both our students and the seniors involved, who truly enjoy the interaction with these young adults. The benefits of IGB are profound. It strengthens the bond between aging parents, adult children, and grandchildren. For instance, when preschoolers engage with the elderly Through simple acts of sharing birthday cards or singing together, they build confidence and learn essential social skills. These interactions not only embrace the emotional well-being of both generations, but also prepare children for a diverse world where acceptance and understanding are key. In India, majority of elderly individuals still live with their families, and many express their preference for the same. Research consistently show that older adults thrive in the company of their children and grandchildren. Organization like ours, HelpAge India, has been working tirelessly to bridge this generational gap since 1980 with students involved. Through initiatives like Student Action for Value Education and Help Unite Generation, we promote intergenerational learning and connection. The Digital Literacy Program is the best example of how even the digital divide can be overcome by efforts of students to familiarize seniors with digital services and use of application. We are excited to launch the hashtag Generation Together campaign. Over the next 3 months, this campaign aims to amplify the need for bridging the generational divide. We will create platforms for conversation, facilitate connection, and build age-inclusive community. The campaign will engage with the middle and high school going students, invite them to participate in contests, workshops, and celebration that foster intergenerational relationship together. Let's connect and make this intergenerational bonding a reality. By encouraging our youth to engage with the elderly and embrace the wisdom of the past, we can create a more inclusive society that values the contribution of all ages. Do join this campaign and support us. Let us unite in this mission, for when generations come together, we not only enrich our lives, but also weave a stronger, more compassionate fabric of our society. Thank you and namaste.
Today we have students and student representatives from schools and institutes who are the young champions for the elder cause. And I invite on stage these young champions from G.D. Goenka Public School, St. Mark's World School, Bal Vikas School, Modern Convent School, Ryan International School, the National Institute of Social Defense, Jamia Millia University, the International Institute of Health Management Research, and Gurugram University. Please come and launch the campaign with us. Thank Thank you so much. That was a great moment. Yeah, I request the teachers and the students to please make your way back to your seats. I request our dignitaries to please stay on stage for the next section, which is the recognition ceremony. I'll now hand over to my colleague Ashima for this section.
Thank you, everybody, and welcome to our event today. So, we're going to recognize some of our most valued and long-standing partners for their outstanding contribution towards Helpage India's work for the elderly. Helpage India has the privilege of working with several leading companies across the country who generously support our work through their CSR initiatives. And today we are honored to recognize the valuable contributions of some of our partners who have been consistently supporting us over many, many years. So at first I'd like to welcome Cipla Foundation. Cipla Foundation has been a long-standing partner for Helpage for over a decade. Currently, they support the mobile healthcare program of Helpage India across 4 states. They have also supported various disaster relief interventions, including COVID response. They have supported our elder help desk as well as mental health care for the elderly. I would now like to invite Mr. Anurag Mishra, Head Cipla Foundation, Mr. Satish, CFO, and Mr. Sunny Mahatre, Lead of Operations for Maharashtra, to receive the plaque of recognition. Thank you very much for your support, Mr. Sinha. Our next partner, Teva Pharmaceuticals, commenced their partnership with HelpAge India in 2011, and they have supported several pioneering interventions such as palliative care, mental health care support, in addition to our mobile healthcare program and restoration of vision to elderly with visual impairment. I'd like to invite Mr. Rajashekar Mallipogu, Head of EHS, Teva Pharmaceuticals, to the stage to receive a plaque of recognition. Thank you very much, Mr. Rajashekar. Our next partner, SMFG India Credit Company Limited, began its partnership with us in 2016, extensively supporting mobile healthcare units across 3 states, as well as crucial interventions during the very challenging COVID period. I would now like to invite Ms. Kavaldeep Kaur, AVP HR of SMFG, to the stage to receive a plaque of recognition. Thank you very much, Ms. Kaur. Kellogg Brown and Root Engineering and Construction Limited began its partnership with HelpAge in the year 2019. Since then, KBR has consistently been supporting HelpAge India's mobile health program, in addition to now also restoring vision to poor and needy elderly who have cataract. I would like to invite Mr. Subhash Das, Head of India Technology Operations at KBR India, to the stage to receive a plaque of recognition. Thank you, Mr. Das. Thank you very much. We are proud to recognize ABB India Foundation for their continued partnership with HelpAge India for the 6th consecutive year. ABB supports mobile healthcare units across 4 states, health camps as well, benefiting the poor and needy elderly also across 4 Indian states. It is our pleasure to invite Mr. Sujit Gusain and Mr. Dheeraj Yadav from ABB to the stage to receive the plaque of recognition. Thank you very much, Mr. Gusain and Mr. Yadav. We are delighted to recognize the H.L. Somani Foundation for their partnership with HelpAge, which began in the year 2021. The foundation currently supports 3 mobile healthcare units in 2 states, Gujarat and Andhra Pradesh, and has helped restore vision also to visually impaired elders, making a significant impact on many lives. I'd like to invite Mr. Ambrish Julka, Senior General Manager Legal and Company Secretary, to the stage to receive the recognition plaque. Thank you very much, Mr. Julka. We appreciate your support. Nayara Energy commenced their partnership with HelpAge India in 2019, supporting our mobile health program and also a stationary health center. They have also supported us during the COVID pandemic by setting up a center and demonstrated their commitment to protecting the most vulnerable members of our community during the pandemic. It's our pleasure to invite Ms. Diti Swen, Senior Manager CSR, on stage to receive a plaque of recognition. Diti? Okay, Diti is arriving, she's on the way, but we'd anyways like to thank them for their valuable contribution. Our next partner whom we'd like to recognize is the Adani Foundation. Adani Foundation commenced its partnership with HelpAge India in 2017, supporting 13 mobile healthcare units across 6 states, disaster response interventions, help desk initiatives, as well as mental health care. I'd like to invite Dr. Abhishek Laktakia, CEO of Adani Foundation. Dr. Laktakia, are you in the audience? Okay, I think Dr. Laktakia is also on the way, but please let's have a round of applause for the Adani Foundation. Our last partner who is also on the way is Honda India Foundation. So they have supported our mobile health program, our vision restoration program across the country, making a significant impact to many lives. So let's have a round of applause for the Honda India Foundation as well. They're not here at the moment, but we would like to recognize them. Ms. Diti Swen is here from Nayara Energy. Ms. Swen, if you could please come to the stage. Thank you very much, Ms. Swen. We move on to our next section, which is recognizing the educational institutions. Our HelpAge India Student Action for Value Education program, we partner with schools all over India. They join hands with HelpAge to create an elder-friendly society and also uphold the values of love and respect for our elders. HelpAge is proud to recognize the contributions of 3 of our esteemed school partners today. I'd first like to invite Ms. Anuradha Sharma, Coordinator North Zone of the Ryan International Group of Institutions, to stage to receive the plaque of recognition. Thank you very much, Ms. Sharma. Next, I would like to welcome Ms. Ritu Marwa, Director, Bal Vikas School, Panipat, on stage to receive a plaque of recognition. Thank you very much, Ms. Marwa. And finally, I would like to invite Dr. K.S. Yadav, Director Academics, and Ms. Veena Singh, Coordinator from Modern Convent School, to the stage to receive the plaque of recognition. Thank you very much, Dr. Singh, Dr. Yadav and Ms. Singh. Thank you very much for your support. Last but certainly not the least, it is our honor, absolute honor, to invite Mr. J.R. Gupta, Chairperson of the Confederation of the Senior Citizen Associations of Delhi, to the stage to receive a plaque of recognition. Gupta ji, at the age of 81, is a one-man army who has been fighting for elder rights since 2005. The Confederation of Senior Citizens Association of Delhi is an umbrella body of nearly 18 lakh senior citizens. Gupta ji has been playing a vital role in extending support and guidance to senior citizens untiringly. Thank you very much, Gupta ji. With this, we conclude our recognition ceremony. May I ask the audience for a big round of applause for the incredible contributions of each of our valued supporters. I would also like to mention the support of all our other supporters who are not here today, but who have gone a long way in helping Helpage India reach out to lakhs and lakhs of disadvantaged elderly across the country. I now hand over the stage to my colleague Nidra as we begin the first of our two important panel discussions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd request my colleagues to please escort our dignitaries back to their seats. We'll now begin the first panel discussion. I invite Dr. Sheetal Maan, Principal, Modern Convent School, Ms. Ritu Marwaha, Director, Bal Vikas School, Panipat, Ms. Dolly Singh, Actor and Social Influencer, Ms. Simran Pavecha, Community Lead, Youth Ki Awaaz, Mr. Ulhas Verakkar, Mentor, Seniors in Seva, and Ms. Sonali Sharma, Head Communications, Helpage India, who will be moderating this session titled Unlocking Opportunities When Generations Come Together.
We're waiting for Ms. Ritu Marwa, but I think before she comes, I think we'll start because there's definitely a paucity of time. We've sort of overrun our schedule. So first of all, welcome all of you. This is such a unique day, but more than anything, it's just such a unique theme today. Normally we mark the day with elders and with senior citizens, which is the way it should be. But we also realize that there's a large portion of people who are living with elders who also need to be here. And I'm very happy that all of you have come here today. Ms. Ritu's here. So just before we start, today's theme, of course, is unlocking opportunities when generations come together. And I can see a lot of generations in this audience today, and I'm very happy. And just to give you a little history, geography, Helpage began in 1978 with a school walk, where children walked, on the road for the elder cause. It was a very simple act, and that became the foundation of who we are today. It, till date, is one of the most popular programs of Helpage India. And, I've personally seen that every time the two generations come together, there's only one thing that happens, and that's magic. And Radhika had mentioned, the Student Action for Value Education, the SAFE program, the HUG program, Help Unite Generations program. And none of us can live in isolation. And I think that is the reason we are here today. Someone spoke about life expectancy of generations living longer together. In 2022, we had conducted a research which brought out that 40% of senior citizens wanted to learn something. Learn to karna chahte the, but sikhane wala koi nahi tha. And about 79% of them said that the family doesn't spend enough time with them. Bachcho ke paas zyada waqt nahi hai, busy rehte hain. And about 59% said that, we want them to spend time with us. And I think it's more than just about spending time, it's also about sharing. And, today we talked about sharing life experiences. So the reality is there is a gap. There is definitely a gap. But how do we address it? And I don't have the answers. I'm hoping the people who are sitting here today have some answers for me. And my first question will be to you, Ritu. Ritu is the director of Bal Vikas School, Panipat. She joined as a teacher and then went on to become a principal in 2007. She's seen it all. After retirement, she was appointed the director of the school. So throughout her career, she's won numerous accolades, in fact, won the Best Principal Award as well. But in addition to Bal Vikas, she also, oversees an ongoing literacy program, which I found very interesting, for underprivileged children within the school. We, of course, have a long-standing relationship with Bal Vikas, and it's in 2000, exactly. That's about 24 years, really. So that's a long association, probably as long as I've also been with Helpage. And Ms. Marva, you've been a teacher, principal, now director. Your school represents going beyond academics. I think your motto is some way realizing their full potential or capacity. And what I want to know is that, a lot has been talked about bringing generations together is that what do you think is the role of educational institutions in shaping minds and in, strengthening intergenerational ties? Because this is the base. This is where we all began. So if you could just, talk about that what is the role of schools and, how do we keep our values and how do we keep our culture intact? Because, that's the one thing that India is very, very, it's a strength. So over to you. You can use the mic if that's on. I think long press it. Yeah, take mine. Yeah. Give me yours. Don't worry.
Actually, in schools, we have been doing all of that, We've been having moral science classes and Grandparents' Day, and we've been enjoying all of that. But when I got the invite from Helpage India, it made me think, and I questioned myself, that is all this enough? Because we've been doing it in school, and when we were kids, and then we've all, like in school also, I have been doing all these programs. So it made me think that maybe we have to think beyond that. So, it got me thinking, and then I thought that, maybe we could, that's my thinking, that we could have more of shared activities
We do have assemblies, but they were all planned assemblies. But now, we could call
keep your mic closer.
Guests. We could call guests over who would share their experiences and maybe tell about their histories. They could mentor the children in school, which, we always think of counselors mentoring. But in this case, we could ask the elders to come to school and be with them, or during vacations, or maybe on weekends. You could share your hobbies together, and that would, kind of bring them together. And I'm very fond of reading, so maybe we could have buddy readings. So where, you read books together, and you share your experience, and this is the way where the elders would also be sharing their experiences. But whatever we do, it has to be done from the heart. So there's just one experience or one story when I was a little girl I'd just like to share, that I was always, my parents always told me, do one good deed a day. And it was kind of a task. It was kind of a punishment. But very soon, I realized it became my nature. And even now, I wouldn't think twice before helping somebody. So this is what we need to instill in the children. And of course, educationists. What about parents? We could involve them also, and the community. So I think.
Thanks. Thanks so much, Ritu. I think Ullas will probably pick up points from there when you talk about mentoring, but I'll come to that later. Which brings me to our next guest, Dolly. Some of you might be familiar with Dolly. A lot of you would be. Dolly was born in Nainital. She's one of the most popular social influencers, and she's known largely for her amazing content creation. I think one of her most popular early characters, which became really viral and popular, was Raju Ki Mummy. And and then she's all gone on and done roles in films like Thank You for Coming and Double XL and Modern Love Mumbai. Dolly has done it on her own. It's literally self-made, as they say. And Dolly, while you essayed all these roles, I think one of my favorite ones is Little Closer to Home. I was just surfing through YouTube, and I came across this heartwarming blog that you put out last month called Mummy Papa Ka Dincharya. It was called A Day at My Family Shop. And, I must tell you about this video. I just came across it, and it was so heartwarming. Obviously, her parents are not camera savvy as she is, and she had put them on the spot. And she followed them through the day to, jab dukaan khulti hai, to dukaan mein kya hota hai pure din, and she's questioning her father, she's talking to her mother, and they are blushing, and they are shy, and they are real. And you don't get to see that kind of content, And Dolly, the fact that you put that out there, which was so real, I think was honestly fantastic. So I think seeing that chord, you're striking with your parents, and just seeing the time, and you have a busy life, but you make the most of it, whether when you're meeting your parents or, when you're in touch with them. But the reality is that while you are doing it, one doesn't get to see much of it. And there is a gap, like I mentioned. So, Dolly, I wanted to ask you is that what do you think are some of the, cultural factors that leads to this, intergenerational divide? And, if you can share a personal experience that brought you closer to your parents, or, maybe an incident that, suddenly made you realize that, okay, this is something that they need and this is something that I need to do. And, if you could just talk about that, about the cultural, what is the reason that this is happening, and an experience of yours?
First of all, thank you for such kind words. My throat is a little bad, so I apologize for that if I suddenly go into a coughing fit. I think the divide is definitely felt by both the generations. Even youngsters just keep feeling that our parents are just not going to understand, or our grandparents will not get it. But I have come to the realization that what we forget is they're also people and they're also growing. And you actually are not giving them the chance to even understand or to even try. And we think that, oh, they're just, it's like written in stone, that it's never going to happen. They are not going to evolve, while they actually do. If you push them, if you talk to them, if you converse with them, I feel like also in our country, in our families, we don't really talk. Conversations, discussions don't happen. In simple words, only Kalesh happens. So I feel like as I've grown older, I have had these realizations, and I feel like I now want to sit down with my parents and talk about life and talk about things and talk about the things that probably I'm going through, and give them the benefit of doubt, and also let them take it slow and not feel like, oh, if they don't get it today, they will never understand. Because my parents have actually shown that to me. Like you said, I come from a very small town, so, working on the internet, doing what I do, suddenly trying to be like, oh, I want to become an actor, all those things were so new to them. They come from a village, so for them, understanding any of that was very difficult. But they really do. And they are, in fact, one of my biggest support systems today. The fact that initially I used to hide everything from them. My mom would tell me that, I've heard that you have been putting pictures on the internet in short clothes. What are you up to? And I would be like, that's not me. Just because I know that she will not understand English, or she'll not get, how to work the internet. All those things, which I feel like all the kids do. But at the end of the day now, I feel like the fact that they know what I do, and now they know everything. Now they know what I wear, what I talk about, where I go, who I meet. And I think that's wonderful. And they've really come around, they've really evolved. They've really I feel like, unlearned a lot of things. And so have I. I feel my own misconceptions of, how that generation could be or would be, have really, they've shown me a mirror. And I feel for me, one of the biggest bonding experiences have actually been the internet, and been making these videos. Initially, with a lot of apprehension, I approached my mom one day and I said, do you think you'll make a video with me? And she had never been on camera. The only way my parents would be on camera is just, sitting still and smiling. And I remember my dad would always go like, why are you tilting your head like that? Just look straight. So it was a big deal, and I thought she'll just say no. Like, why would she say yes? But she did. And I actually saw her really come into her own in front of the camera. And probably that's where I get it from. And I never realized. Even last month, I was shooting with her, and it was one of our first brand deals where the brand really wanted my mother to be a part of it. And I was so nervous, because this time she had to follow a script. She couldn't just be herself, which she's fabulous at. I mean, people really love her. And I thought, oh my God, how is she going to repeat the lines, and how is she going to act it out? But she was amazing, and she just did it. I mean, clearly my acting genes come from her. She just probably never got to do it. So I think my bonding experiences have been wonderful in that sense, with these videos that I make with them, people appreciating them, and they enjoy being on that camera and being a part of this world. Now tip-tapping on their own phones, and my mom wants to start her own channel. Yeah. Exactly, and my father, as shy as he is, loved being interviewed for the vlog. He loved going on and on about his life journey, which I absolutely adored. So I think it's, for all of us, just one step at a time, if we could take and see where is it that we can meet in the middle. What is it that we can do together? I have a lot of bone to pick with my parents. They really don't have any hobbies. I would really like them to be independent a little bit, because they do come from, the thinking that, oh, our children are supposed to take care of us, which I agree. I would love to be there for them whenever, as long as I can be. But I would love for them to also see the world on their own, explore, have some hobbies, do things, and that's what I keep pushing them, that's the direction I keep pushing them into. So currently my mom is exploring her own YouTube channel. Let's see where that goes. But it's been really nice, actually.
Thanks, Dolly. I think the key to what you said was, I think a lot of us here can relate to this, and I think what came out of what you're saying is that basically your parents surprised you. You came with perceptions and they surprised you. And I think that is a major takeaway, that if you communicate and you give them a chance, you never know, what magic comes out of it and what new things will come out of it, opportunities come out of it. We are talking about opportunities here today. And, that brings me to the youngest speaker on our panel, which is Ullas Veragar. I asked Ullas, how do I introduce you? And he comes from a very rich academic background, but he refused to be introduced like that. He said, I am a young volunteer, I am a mentor, and please introduce me like that. So he is a young volunteer and a mentor, and I'm introducing him like that. And he's, the interesting thing about young volunteer is the fact that, he has really made, I'm going to use the word second innings of his life, which he will not agree because age is just a number. But he is mentoring students of class 9 and 10 for the last 11 years. He's volunteering his time. And because he knows he has a lot to give. I asked him, so, you told me to introduce you young, so what keeps you young? Like my average friend group is 18 and below. That's my age group. So that keeps me young. So I think, so though I've asked him to talk about the senior perspective, and I will push you to talk about the senior perspective, you heard Ritu and you've heard, Dolly. And, what I wanted to ask you, Ullas, is that, what opportunities do you see, bringing these two generations together? And you've talked about, you have this entire program called Seniors in Seva, and you really believe in the potential of senior volunteering. You're an example itself. But how does one scale it? Is technology the answer? How does one scale? How does one, use? Normally they say young volunteers for senior citizens. In your case, it's the reverse. It's older volunteers for younger people. So maybe, talk a little bit about that, that A, how do you scale up? And what do you think that the seniors, can do? As volunteering, what is it that you see, what are the opportunities which are out there for seniors? So over to you, Ullas.
First of all, thank you, Rohit, because this gives me an opportunity. It's a fan moment with Sharmila ji at one end and Dolly at another end. So I've been a fan of her videos. And of course, I've been an admirer of Kiran. The kind of work he has done in social sector, I have done only a fraction of that. Other opportunity and an exception has been, I've been part of many panels which are appropriately named Menels. So the first time I think I'm the only man in this panel, if I may say so. I have been volunteering for teaching and mentoring youth. And the simple reason is I get much more than I give. I strongly believe that when you give, you receive much more. And I think this is in many ways. We heard about digital divide between youth and old, but I think it is much more than that. I think that everybody at my age, or Sharmila ji's age, I don't think we feel old. I think the day we start feeling old is when we believe there is nothing much to learn. As long as the curiosity is there, as long as the willingness is there that I can experiment, I can learn, and even at this age I can make mistakes, I'm all right. And therefore you are no different than a young person. But when you are with young person and when you are with old persons, one of the reasons I'm with young persons is most of us are cynical. Most of us are unfortunately saying, Hamara zamana kitna acha tha. You know, we live in past. And when you live in past, I don't think you can make or bring any change. When we are with young, they want to bring change. They want to improve things. And we are in past. So I think when you are with young, they tell you be in present and change the future. And I think that's what I learned from them. To be optimistic, to be positive, and saying that I can change and we can change. Now, you asked me a very difficult question. How do we really scale up? How do we make it a movement? And I was wondering, what is actually stopping it? Right? Because I think every year, 1 crore of people are possibly retiring, right? And most of them are around 60-year-old. And for another 5 to 10 years, I think they're physically and mentally sound. They can contribute. So what happens? Why are they not coming forward? Why are they not contributing? I think there are many issues because we want something for which we have some expertise. We have some strengths, and that's what we can contribute. So how do we find out who needs that kind of contribution? I think that's the first challenge. Second challenge is, while we are physically okay, we don't want to do things for which we'll have to travel a lot. So that's the other thing. If something which is close by, I think that will be very nice. Or if you're reasonably technologically savvy, then something which we can do on a remotely, you know, using your phone, using your laptop, that kind of stuff. And I think some beginning has been made. There are a number of platforms who have recognized that on the one hand, there are students, there are youngsters who need mentoring, who need support. And on the other side, there are people like me who are keen to share their wisdom, knowledge, skills, expertise with them. And all of them allow this to be done on remote basis. This is being done primarily for 2-3 areas. One, the school students, typically who are in 10th, 11th, 12th, these days, thanks to Google, thanks to internet, unlike our time, when there are very few opportunities, what you want to do in life, either you became doctor or engineer or lawyer, something like that. There are plethora of opportunities. But when you have more information, you have more confusion. So more information is not necessarily better. So could somebody who has that background, who has that expertise, help people to navigate, right? And figure out what is it I can do, how do I do it, kind of thing. The other opportunity is a large number of students who come from rural, semi-urban areas, and when they join institutes like IITs and so on and so forth, they're coming out of their social milieu. A large number of them are from vernacular medium, and somewhere they find themselves totally out of place. And there is a huge issue. And once again, mentoring like this can really help them, right? So I think there are a lot of opportunities in their platform. The challenge is how do we scale up? Because I think any technology requires a lot of capital. For example, if you're looking at how we used to hire a taxi 20 years back, it was a totally different thing. But a platform like Uber, a platform like Ola has made things so convenient. So I think if there is some big philanthropist or some organization who invests in strengthening platforms like this and then markets it through organizations like HelpAge, that there's a much wider recognition that this is something which is available, join, and both sides, students as well as mentors, I think the whole thing can change. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ullas. I think you rightly said you are the youngest in this panel. And I think one of the things that you spoke about you know, helping students who come, you know, from towns and villages who are not comfortable, you know, who are not in their clique, as they say, when they join the IIMs, the IITs. And even you know, who are slightly shy or, you know, speaking in English, and that becomes a confidence issue. And they can't go to their parents because they're also from, you know, the same space. And when you have an elder friend, I would say it, or a buddy, who guides you, and says, "Acha, baith jam, I'll teach you. We will only talk, in a language that you want to scale up." And I think that's a big thing. We don't realize the value of what mentoring can do for someone who comes with a baggage of little bit of a lack of confidence. So I think that's a fantastic, scale up is still a question that is hanging. You've given a suggestion, and let's hope some philanthropist is listening to us and, puts in, puts the bucks in.
I'm tempted to just add one thing.
Yeah.
I'm a friend to all my mentors. I'm not really a mentor, or they are not mentees, we are friends. Because it's a relationship of equality. I'm not somebody who is giving them gyan.
Absolutely.
I'm receiving them.
Absolutely, which brings me to my next speaker, because I'm also watching time. We have another panel after this. Dr. Sheetal Man, you've come with a rich experience of 70 years in education, and you're from APJ Faridabad yourself. Gargi, you're a Delhi wala, for the lack of a better word. So, Sheetal, I know that modern convent school has always believed in inculcating values. Values is a huge thing, for you, and you completely all the time are focusing on the all-round development of the child. I want you to share basically from your perspective that what kind of good practices, what are the practices, what are the practical things that can be done by educational institutions, embed, to encourage intergenerational understanding and, reap its benefits both ways, I mean, for both generations, like I said. So, are there forums the school can create for children? How do we create greater interaction more consistently? It's not about just marking one day, but how do we do it on a sustainable basis?
Right. Thank you, Sonali. First of all, I'd like to thank HelpAge for giving us a pedestal about talking about the well-being of the generation because of whom we are what we are today. So, and of course, being in the presence of such great dignitaries and personalities. You rightly said all the schools, and I think as Madam Marva also said, we are into a lot of activities. I would like to call them intergenerational ventures, be it forums or giving them activities or an opportunity for the elderlies, the grandparents, and the young generation to interact with each other. Beyond that, I think very essentially, when you called me up and we had that lovely discussion, that made me introspect into a lot of things. And one very interesting thing that came to my mind was, why not put aging as an education into schooling? Like we have sex education, why not have age education? So I, as Sir said, there are many tools that we have, so I started AIing. I will not say Googling, so we have AI now. And I came up with a very beautiful research, which was in the West, and they talked about a program called PEACE, which stood for Positive Education for Aging and Collaborative Experiencing in Schools. The concept stands wherein we teach the children about the process of aging, be it the physical process along with the emotional process, so that they understand. We are very well aware that it is only knowledge which will give you a positive attitude, like Dolly ji just mentioned that after her parents got to know exactly what she was doing, they were not only able to appreciate, but participate. So it's only until we arise the knowledge amongst children as to why the elderly are how they are. Of course, we have a lot of activities wherein we ask them to be in touch with their grandparents, but to make them understand. I'll share one anecdote. It's a personal anecdote with my family. So one of my nieces, nephews, when they come during festivals, one of them said, "Why is Nani so grumpy?" And the other one answered, you need to be sensitive. She can't hear properly, she can't see, and most importantly, she can't do the hobbies that she used to enjoy. She can't cook anymore, she can't go to the market on her own. So obviously, she's going to be grumpy. So I there and then understood, or the take from that conversation was, let us make them understand why. And also along with that, I think that generation is a plethora, it's like a library of information. So the children need to know that interacting with them will only enrich us. So I think it is the perception which with they see the elderlies that the school needs to change, and it can only come by inculcating that right amount of knowledge as what is the process of aging and what exactly is aging. So I think this is something we really need to and can revolutionize things along, if I can use that term here.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think, the fact that you even talked about the fact that, putting it, it's literally like putting it in the curriculum. Like you have sex education, age education, and I think that's a huge takeaway. And if all educational institutions do that, you have a very...
It will also help them age in a certain manner to understand that how we need to take care of ourselves physically, the temple, our body, treat it as a temple rather than, take it for granted.
Yeah, and I think everybody is going to, at some point, get there. So it's better that you prepare for your own self as well. That brings me to my last and young speaker. And the reason I'm saying young speaker because she is from an organization which is called Youth Ki Awaaz. I think that itself is self-explanatory. So Simran Pavecha, welcome. She is the community lead for Youth Ki Awaaz. She's someone who's at the center of giving youth voice. And, where India writes, Youth Ki Awaaz is about that. It gives opportunities to young minds to express themselves. And it is India's, completely crowdsourced platform where young people write and share their stories. Simran leads the community building part through storytelling and technology and developing platforms to upskill young writers. Her passion for education and skill led her to launch the writing school, am I right? Yeah, and for young people. Youth Ki Awaaz also uses its power of community to amplify social issues. So I think that's something which is very key because they have a huge amount of power to make a difference. So Simran, you've heard multiple views here now, and different age groups, if I might say. But one core issue that many elders often say, and in fact, Mr. Gore also said, perception, frail, dependent. That's aging is a natural organic process, right? But that old person, satya gaya hai, terms like this which are used, and how do you address this ageism? And this discrimination obviously comes from the generation which is obviously not aged, and it automatically distances you. The minute you put somebody in a box, which, Mr. Gore also mentioned that don't box people in. Immediately you've formed an opinion, you've distanced yourself, even Dolly spoke about perceptions, and so how can we sensitize the younger generation to elder needs, while, Sheetal did mention, age education, that's one way, but there's interconnectedness of attitudes, and towards elder care. How do you advocate, for youth to be involved, and how can we create that effective dialogue, simply?
Thank you. First of all, for calling me here. It has been lovely to hear all of you speak. It has been such a diverse panel in every sort of way. I think I will just begin by, before I get to the ageism, the perception bit of it, I would also like to very shamelessly borrow some stuff that Dolly has said, that Mr. Ullas has said here, because all of it is so on point. At this point, I feel, more than about perception, it is about the fact that what you said, we need to come out of our silos, and I'm talking about both the generations here. And because again, what we don't realize, and what I also want to focus on right now, is that there is just so much more common ground than we think there is. Again, because by nature, one population is of a certain age and has certain traits, has certain hobbies, etc., and the other one has very opposite ones. We think that these are generations that are operating in silos, but like Mr. Ullas very rightly pointed out, that there is just so much complementary, or there's just so much learning that both the generations can bring to each other and try to kind of make up for that gap. So I did a very small activity yesterday with YK, with Youth. So Youth is like our polling bot, which is primarily, young people taking polls and expressing their opinions every day on one important issue, so that we can try and be more active as citizens, etc. And of course, it's inconclusive right now because it's an ongoing activity. But I asked them that, do you think that young people have a responsibility towards elder care? And I don't want to name numbers because, again, I don't have hard results right now, but it was an overwhelming majority saying that yes. So the point I'm trying to make is that I think that there is that awareness. So they know that there's something that needs to be done. But the way and the pathway to kind of get involved with the other generation, etc., that is lacking. So, for example, if we again, I want to now bring in what Dolly said about internet, right? So, even on the platform that that on the community that I lead, there's so many people who are constantly talking about elder care, healthcare, etc. And there's just so many common grounds, right from things like chronic pain, which elder people have been living forever, but we are now seeing that come into mainstream consciousness, and younger people are doing that. But I don't see that connection being made at all, right? So that is one thing. The second thing could be mental health care. Again, something young people have been advocating for, been trying to mainstream, but again, I don't want to name numbers, but there's so much data that's already available on the kind of, almost 75% elder folks live with chronic pain, over 20% live with depression. So the point I'm trying to make is that there is just so much more common ground than we think there is. I also did like a sub activity with youth, which is I asked them that, okay, what are some things that that are responsible for this gap between both the generations. And almost like 150 folks wrote back and they said, things right from the generation gap to mindset difference, etc. But what really stood out to me was that I think we need to just really, both as young people and especially as young people, I would say, not be in our silos. While we should, and we should expect older folks, older people to engage in a dialogue with us and bring that critical thinking in, I feel it's also on us to be constructive while having those conversations. And yeah, I think I'll just close there, and I'll also actually just like to add one thing, which is something, which is that I also think that one of the most beautiful things, and also the work that we do at YK, which is storytelling. What you said, this generation has a actually all of you all said this generation has a wealth of knowledge, has a wealth of diversity of experience. They have the nuance that is needed, and it would be lovely to be able to also bridge that digital divide, right? There's only I think a 17 or a 20% people in the older generation who have that, who are digitally literate. But imagine if that is something that we're able to change, especially because young people today are bold, they are out there, they want to talk about things that they want. And I think if both these generations are also able to work on building these stories, on ensuring that their lived experiences are out there, I think there's going to be just so much more empathy. So I think I'm just going to end there, and I hope I was able to answer your question.
Yeah, you did actually, Simran. I think you just reinstated what everybody was saying here. And I think the bottom line comes to what our campaign is about, which is conversations, connections, and collaboration. And that is what the Generations Together campaign is, and each one of you has talked about it. Talked about connecting, talked about communication, because nothing will come out of it if dialogue doesn't happen. And I think that is critical. I'm going to end there because we do have another panel discussion. I would have loved to have a Q&A, but maybe I'll just take 2 questions. If anybody wants to ask anything to any of our panelists, now would be the time. Otherwise, we'll just move on. There's one person there.
Great panel, by the way.
Thank you.
I just have a question. So I've always said, so I'm very open in having a dialogue. I'm very blunt. I would say what's on my mind. What I've noticed in my family and my granddad, my parents is, so there is sort of this resistance where they are not open to the dialogue. They just want to be like, no, we said it, so it's right. So you have to kind of, in India also we are kind of on that path where we say, okay, अगर parents से बोलते तो वो ठीक ही है. They are not open कि otherwise they feel like, oh, ये तो बहस कर रहा है मेरे साथ, बहस क्यों करना? So they don't view it as a discussion. So how do you kind of bridge that? How do you kind of go forward from that?
Is there anybody in particular you have the question for? No, okay. Dolly, maybe you want to take that? Oh, you're having your water. Ulas, you want to take that because she is talking about the challenge she's facing in connecting with the generation. Yeah.
I'm not as old as I look. I think part of the problem is cultural, that we believe that older people always know better. And unfortunately, that is not true. Second is disagreeing is frowned upon. So you are supposed to respect elders, and respecting means agreeing to whatever they say. Technically, it should not be like that. Respecting means you respect them, but that doesn't mean that you blindly accept whatever is being said. The problem is, whenever there is a discussion or disagreement, number of times I think the manner in which takes place may create a problem. Sometimes it is the tone which is problematic, not the words. But if you respectfully disagree and put forward your views, and the other side is open to listen to your view, I think somewhere the whole issue is, do you really know everything? And if there is room for saying that, no, I don't know everything, things are evolving, and the newer generation also, younger generation also knows things which I don't know. So therefore, you will be open to a dialogue. But I suspect if that is not happening, keep on trying respectfully. You never know when things change.
Thanks so much, Ullas. I think we are running out of time. Just a big round of applause for this amazing panel. I would now want to give all of you a small token of appreciation. If my colleagues, yeah, there they are. So we are very environmental friendly.
Can I just also add one thing before I leave? Is I feel like this is a realization I've recently had, is I would love for the older generation to teach us language. We have really forgotten how to form sentences, how to write. We are, talking in short forms and have new words for everything. And I really miss, in fact, Sharmila ji was here. I was remembering how, Saira Banuji and Zeenat Amanji now on Instagram, like these beautiful captions and anecdotes and stories from their lives. And when you read them, you feel like, oh, I've read something. The way people used to converse, the vocabulary, even when she was talking, when you're talking, it makes a difference. When we talk, we're like, yeah, the vibes are there. We've lost language. Please, hame language sikha dijiye. Yes.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful, wonderful session, very enlightening.
Thanks, Rita.
You were so good.
Thank you
Please,
so
please.
much. I request my colleagues to please escort our panelists back to their seats. We now get ready for the second session. So our panel discussion now is on unlocking opportunities through partnerships. I'd like to invite on stage Mr. Anurag Mishra, Head CSR, Cipla Foundation, Mr. Jaideep Biswas, Chief Policy and Partnerships, UNFPA, Mr. Subhash Das, Head India Technology Operations, Sorry, Abhi. Hanji. So I'll just invite back on stage Mr. Anurag Mishra, Head CSR Cipla Foundation, Mr. Jaideep Biswas, Chief Policy and Partnerships, UNFPA, Mr. Subhash Das, Head India Technology Operations, KBR, and Ms. Himali Mahajan, Managing Director, GCI Health India, as well as Mr. Kanchan Sen, Country Head Resource Mobilization and Marketing, HelpAge India, who will be moderating this session.
Hi. Hello. So, good afternoon, everyone. So, we are almost to the last panel, and last panels are always tricky. And while a lot of people were talking about, youth, old, and all that, and there we are, the sandwich generation, perhaps. We don't know what to call ourselves, but that's what it is. But that's the stereotypes that we have. So, before I start the panel, just a few things I want to share is that, 1 out of 5 Indians will be 60 plus in a little above, just about 2 decades, a little more than 2 decades. The fertility rate in India has been decreasing. It's currently 2.0. And the life expectancy, on the other hand, is increasing. So we are in this interesting cocktail, as I might say, but what important is we are in it together. I think more than ever before, we need to catalyze more discussions on around this topic called towards a society for all ages. Generations has to come together. Generations must learn to coexist in a more meaningful way. So along with government, it calls for a holistic, multi-sectoral approach, and to address the situation. Maybe a multi-sectoral energy is the right word to say, to build up an age-friendly infrastructure and a community space. So welcome to the panel, everyone. It is Unlocking Opportunities Through Partnerships. We discuss how multi-sector can contribute to an age-inclusive India. So while I know Sonali started from that side, so I'll just change it a bit. I'll start from this side. So first I go to Anurag. Anurag heads Cipla Foundation, a decade-old partner for HelpAge. Anurag is a master's in anthropology, has been associated with both corporate and development sector over the last 25 years, from oil and gas, mining, shipping, ports. He's worked with organizations like Keynes and SR. His core area of interest includes stakeholder engagement, shared value convergence, as well as communication. He's currently heading the Cipla Foundation. But another interesting thing what he wrote yesterday was that he looks CSR more as an opportunity rather than a responsibility. And I think that's a great thing. So Anurag, you did mention that, you did a lot of, you worked on some very innovative models towards healthcare, and we would like to know, some of the innovative models that has helped access to health. That would be great.
So, Kanchan, thank you very much for giving the opportunity, entire HelpAge team and all the audience sitting here. A lot of people known here in the audience. And since morning I have been listening this discussion, and especially the discussion was how do we collaborate, how do we unlock, how do we create those potential, especially for elderly. And I want to highlight, a few things which we have been doing in Cipla and Foundation. Cipla, you might be knowing, a pharmaceutical company, 87 years old. And one of the motto of Cipla as a company was accessibility and affordability. That's how the company started. That how do you create access and affordable drugs? But as foundation, we realized that accessibility, affordability is also for the schemes which we run as a social responsibility or as a not-for-profit. How do you create those access? In fact, I was going through the data because with HelpAge, we run 7 health vans across the country. And I was looking at some of the data which comes as part of monthly report. And I realized there was one gentleman called Mr. Amar Singh in Dhar district, MP. He's 100 years of age. And he comes to HelpAge van to take medicine. I was amazed, when I look at the data. And then I started probing. I said, okay, let's look at how many 90 years of age. And then I realized that there were another 10, 15 people, 90 years of age, who comes to health van to take the drugs. And in fact, one of my colleagues went and interviewed Amar Singh ji that, since how long? And he said, from last 8-9 years, he is coming and taking van. And he said that, it is because of this health van that he feels that he has reached this stage because the drugs is accessible and accessible for him. So I think that is one way that how do you create such partnership where you create access for people. In fact, we run 7 health van. There are about 1 lakh people who get benefited every year. And out of 1 lakh, I was again amazed that 40% are elderly. And the reason being the timing of van is such that, productive age group people are out of the villages. So it's mostly women, elderly and children who are in the village. So by default, I think that's the best model to cater to the needs of elderly. So that's one part. The other part is that we also run a big project. In fact, I will say, very proudly say that we run palliative care across the country. One of our flagship initiative, like HelpAge talks about elderly, Cipla Foundation talks about palliative, and the issue is same. In palliative also, no one knows, no one invests, and the issue which needs a lot of attention in the sense that when people are at that stage where they need care and comfort, how do you create and collaborate and bring partnerships? So way back in 97, we set up a center in Pune to create that access, but then we realized that, unless you collaborate, it will not move forward. So we started taking first step where we started going to government hospitals and we said, that's the best place where you can actually run palliative care. When the patients are told that nothing much can be done, you can go home, and that's the place where you should start your journey. So our first partnership started in Wadia Hospital in Bombay, where we started pediatric palliative, something very unique, not much heard of. Then we moved to Tata Memorial Hospital. To cut the story very short, from 2017 to today, we have now 40 partners across the country who runs palliative care. And it's from Srinagar to Trivandrum to Silchar to Bikaner. Last week we started in Bikaner, Government Medical College. And why I'm narrating this, because I think that is the approach which we have to take when we talk about elderly, to collaborate and unlock potential. Another example I should give, that in palliative we also realize that ultimately the ecosystem in which we operate, there are so many organizations working at different levels. So let's talk about Pratham. Pratham works with children in schools, in communities, and they are spread across the country. So in fact, we reach out to Pratham that why can't we train children to talk about palliative and think about palliative, because ultimately these children whose houses the family members are there, who might be sick, who might be unwell, who may need palliative care. So why can't children become our custodian and partner? So in fact, we are looking at partnership with Pratham to expand the potential of palliative care. And I think for even elderly, why not go to organizations like Pratham or organizations who are into community at large scale? I think that could be a good way to look at how do we expand this, this sensitization and expanding the horizon. The second thing which we are also doing is that we do a lot of employee volunteering. And since in Cipla the average age is 30-32, we also realize that as part of volunteering, we need to do a lot of sensitization session with employees on aging, on the process of aging, and maybe making them more sensitive on those issues. So that is something which we have taken as a mandate for 25,000 employees. At least they should be aware of issues of aging and how they can contribute. And third thing what we do is, this is a bit surprising, the center which I talked about started in 97, 25 years it has completed. The oldest and longest serving people who are there are all volunteers. The employees have come and gone. But it's all volunteers. And who are these volunteers? These are all senior citizens. So when I go and meet them, and I feel very proud and humbled that these are the people who keep coming back and they keep asking how they can contribute more. And these come from very professional background. And in fact, I like that suggestion the other gentleman gave in the last panel discussion, that we need to create some platform where those knowledge base can be put in and people can then collaborate and bring in. I think that's a good suggestion which probably we will also look at that how we can do. So I think in terms of unlocking, these are few things which we are doing at the foundation level, and we keep aspiring, keep moving ahead to see how we can continue our partnership with HelpAge. Thank you.
Thanks, Anurag. I mean, yeah. So I think you're absolutely correct. I think in some of the MHUs where I saw that, it's not just about accessing health. Sometimes the fact that they're able to come out of their house and meet there, I mean, that isolation, that social gathering, that itself makes so the platforms is the right thing that you said. But before I move to the other panelists, this is one question in my mind, Anurag, and I can't leave you without that. Is that, there is about a 27,000 crore available in the CSR spend space. And there is a huge disproportion for giving for older causes. I mean, you've seen both sides. You've been a part of the CSR, you've been a part of the development. So how do you think that can get unlocked more?
So that's a difficult question to answer, but I will say that we have to take one step at a time. One good example is during COVID time, almost 60-70% of fund went into COVID. And these were all same corporates who are now spending in some other. So I think somewhere focus has to be brought in, which could be through a national mandate, government mandate, or probably our effort. But one thing which we have decided to do as a foundation is government has announced health insurance for elderly. We have taken a lead and we will be taking lead talking to HelpAge team that at least in all health van, wherever the elderlies are, at least we will ensure that all elderlies are insured. So I think even if that can be done, HelpAge run 150 plus vans. Even with all 150 vans, if we can run a big campaign with this same corporate, I think that will be a good way to unlock certain potential which probably we have yet not.
Thanks, Anurag. I mean, this is a good idea and absolutely something that we'll keep in our mind. And as I always say in many forums that baatein hogi to baatein banegi. So this is one of them. So let me go to my friend from UNFPA. They've done phenomenal work in the country in the last 50 years, especially under the theme Population Dynamics. Let me welcome Jaideep Biswas. He's the Chief Policy and Partnerships at UNFPA. Jaideep is leading the policy work, population dynamics and research, communications and media. He also is into innovation and technology and strategic partnerships. Previously, he was a senior governance advisor and acting team leader in FCDO and DFID India, where he led programs, policy work in multiple sectors. And of course, he's got a great exposure of different other countries as well. A master's in governance and development from IDS University of Sussex. He's a British Chevening scholar as well. So Jaideep, just help me understand, help the audience probably understand that what are the primary challenges and opportunities facing older adults in different other regions as well. We know the Indian scenario, maybe other regions as well, and maybe especially the global south.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this morning and congratulations to HelpAge. This has been a wonderful morning and I would like to start by saying that we are all growing and that's the full sentence. I think a new perspective on aging is needed. And if I may start, Kanchan, by saying, as United Nations Population Fund, I have sometimes wondered at the macro level when United Nations talks about large conferences, what value do we add? And I'll mention two here, which in the perspective of aging. The first is the Cairo Conference of 1994, where the issue of human rights and dignity was brought in center as part of population and development. It was about people and not population. That was the focus. And from there, I move on to Madrid 2002, from where I think this line is also taken, a society for all ages. Again, a paradigm shift. For the first time, older people's contribution to society was underlined, and they were not seen as dependents, but they were active contributors to the well-being of the society. And recently, we met in Bali in the Asia-Pacific region. I think another paradigm shift is being made, where we all talked about how do we celebrate aging? Completely reframing the perspective that often sees society as burdened. Older people are a burden to the society, they need care. Of course, they do, but they also contribute. And this morning's discussion shows that they contribute in many ways as mentors, as wellspring of innovation and productivity. So what I'm trying to gather here is, as United Nations and United Nations Population Fund, there is a need for us to bring stakeholders all around the table, the high table, and set these directions of which all of you are a part. And I think, just to add for India, I think that age is coming, where if I may give a little bit of the data, I think in 1950, the proportion of elderly people in India was 5%. And that is about 11% that was quoted. That has taken 75 years, right? For it to double from 5% to 10%. Now, it will take just 25 years for it to double from 2023 to 2050. And we are at about 15 crores, 16 crores. It will go up to 34 crores in the next 25 years. So imagine the kind of pressure we are going to be under that took 75 years to double. The proportion of older people will happen in the next 25 years. And that's also an opportunity because elderly products will come in, products for the elderly will come in, healthcare, you talked about the opportunities. I think that's what we are looking at. So in a nutshell, where I want to go with this is, there are a few things which people are looking at. How do you celebrate aging, as I said? One will be, of course, about health, because it's a natural phenomenon. As you physically grow older, there will be issues about health. So healthcare will be a big part of it. I think productivity is going to be another, where people are talking about, like Sharmila ji spoke, life doesn't stop at 60 or it doesn't change overnight that you become less productive. But already I think a lot of the other countries are moving from 60 to 65 as the definition of the prime productive age, from 18 to 65. That's already moving. 80 is the new 60 people are talking about. And so many other ways, I think health, productivity, the issue of climate and urbanization linked together are going to pose some real serious problems, mostly for those who are aging and elderly and vulnerable, because that creates a different kinds of problems. Mobility and transportation, because as you talked about, we age less when we travel more, apparently. So that'll bring us, give us new opportunities to design our public spaces differently, the cities differently. So all in all, I don't want to take up too much time. I know lunch is in between, and United Nations speaking is not a great idea at all. So I'll stop there to say that I think there's a huge new set of opportunities along with challenges that we see. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Jaideep. Thanks, Jaideep. I think taking cue from what you said, I'll go to Mr. Subhash Das, who is also the head India Technology Operations of KBR. He's an engineering graduate from BITS Pilani, an MBA from FMS Delhi University. Mr. Das is an energy sector professional for more than 39 years of experience in various roles. He is a senior director, head of KBR Technology, a director of, and prior to KBR, he was with Samsung Engineering and also with Engineers India Limited. His core competencies include organizational development, strategy, global operations. Welcome, Mr. Das. So I'm just taking cue from, from Jaideep, what he said, that he's correct. I think 20% of the population will be probably 60 plus in the next a little more than 2 decades. So a huge consumer base. And what opportunities do you see? I mean, when you look at it from an engineering perspective, in design and stuff like that, what opportunities do you see that can actually get unlocked? Or should we start looking at it differently?
First of all, thank you. Thank you for organizing this. This is a fantastic event, I guess. And thank you, audience. I would like to give a little perspective on, I'm a little odd man out here. We are more into science and technology solutions, scientific solutions, mainly in the sustainable technology solutions. So a little perspective on that. We are heavily working on, we are more than 100-year-old company. That's a US multinational, and have been most of the time working in energy sector. And currently the focus is on 3 or 4 areas. It's not going to be directly impacting the quality of life, but definitely that's a need of the hour. So we have technologies for plastic recycling, decarbonization, and then sustainable aviation fuel. So which is, all these are basically carbon free, and that is probably the need of the hour. Everywhere we talk about this. So with this background, I'll probably try to give some other perspective, a little different perspective. As everybody had said, all the panelists and all the speakers previously, that, age. I would like to consider that aging starts from childhood. And as Joydeep pointed out, it's basically growth. So sometimes I challenge, we have a lot of discussions within our organizations at a global level. We deal with multi-generational workforce. As many of you may be knowing, actually in US, we don't have any retirement age. So our people, my president, for example, he is more than 68, and he's still, working. And people work as long as they're healthy, they're able to come to office. So sometimes the thought comes, sorry, I'm deviating slightly differently. Why can't, and India is a highly populous country, right? And this number is going to be really, really big going over the years. So can there be any kind of policy discussions about increasing the age? Because I consider three things, very similar to the analogy that we do in our energy transition, that is for decarbonization. We see now we are too much dependent on oil and gas, and we want to switch to renewable energy, right? So I take a cue from there: sustainability, affordability, and of course, security, energy security. With wars going on here and there, so every nation wants to have a secured energy supply. So when I take this, stuff to I don't know what I would like to call it. We call this energy trilemma. This is a dilemma, or rather trilemma. But I think if we go towards the aging part, then perhaps it stays there for all the years. All the growing years. Number one, perhaps I would talk about inclusivity, inclusion. Here there is so much of discussion about 2 generations, but actually it's not 2 generations. It is starting from traditional to what we call today is alpha. That is a new word we keep discussing in our global forum. So it's not basically 2 generations. Here we saw the panels talking about both. It's basically multi-generation. So even, I'll just give you a small example. My son, who was, that time probably he was only 20 years old, and he was saying, "Ye bacche kya kar rahe hain, samajh mein nahi aa raha hai." And he was referring to whom? People who are 17, 18 years old. So the thinking, the mindset is changing. So I think this is one. This is very, very important, I think, in my opinion. And whenever we have discussions, I give a lot of examples about India being a absolute diverse country. We talk about, say, Western countries with India. I said, hey, come on, come to India. Travel every 20 kilometers, you will find change in everything. So what is the key? The key is inclusivity. And the second point that I always say is that, coming back to this, retirement is a very bad word, in my opinion. I'm already over 60. So, but I never feel that I cannot contribute. In fact, as in the previous panel, somebody said I am the youngest volunteer, right? So I think it is all in the mind. The third part is perhaps, so that there has to be continuity of work, continuity of productive engagement. So I think this is also very important, because this is how I think many of the gray-haired people I see, they would agree that, okay, we want to do something. Hey, why you are trying to put a stop at 60? Retirement has become a kind of sometimes a stigma, right? So, oh, you have become old. Kaun kisi ko buddha bulata hai, kaun kisi ko, even within the family people address. So And I come from a rural background, and I know how they are connected. And so I think there has to be continuity. And the third one, perhaps, is healthcare. And this is where actually we give a lot of importance right now. But I think if we don't consider all these three things together, I'm not a social scientist, but I think the kind of limited knowledge I have, exposure I have, and the kind of people that I have seen all over the world, I travel a lot, I see that all these three things will have to be taken together. So, and coming back to the question that you raised, there are huge number of technological solutions being at different stages, lab stage, pilot stage, and then scaled up commercial scale. So a lot of things are happening. And probably, I don't think I'll have to explain that. Probably the moment, even a 40-year-old, suppose he's somehow, he meets with an accident, or she meets with an accident and something happens, obviously something is required. So the same thing is probably can be extendable to somebody at 60 or 70. So healthcare is definitely is a must. So, but I think with those three things, perhaps a lot of things will change. And there are going to be a lot of products. They are coming up in the market. I mean, I don't know how many of you follow. I'm an avid follower of all scientific and technological innovations. We are actually kind of innovating a lot of stuff. And there we see that, hey, in China, somebody is doing a surgery who is about, look at a doctor is doing a surgery 800 kilometers away. That's a kind of advancement which has happened. And this very similar things are happening here. And when I go by my experiences, I consider the Indian healthcare system needs a little tweak. It can be the best in the world. We are already in the world. I mean, best. I mean, one of the leading, healthcare providers in the world. The only thing is we are so diverse. Our socio-economic stratas are so much layered. I think you can categorize them into 100 or 150 layers. So the needs of each layer has to be addressed. So I think there is a huge, huge potential, and I think there are already work going on in each sector. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Das. You touched upon some very important things, Mr. Das. I think first, the policy aspect, what you said, that is very interesting to see that corporates have started thinking about these things, that age is not a barrier anymore. If you can contribute, you should probably continue. That's it's an opportunity in the policy level to probably push many things. Continuity is something that you said it's all in the mind for a lot of us. So continuity is something which definitely we take back as an opportunity. Breaking stereotypes, stigma. The next thing that you said, that retirement is a bad word, and I agree with you. We also can see the tunnel, at our side, the light. But then, and also the aspect of technology designs in healthcare. I think these are very good things, and because you talked about perceptions, you talked about healthcare, so let me go to Himali Mahajan, is Managing Director of GCI Health. Himali is representing the media space, but she's also has 17 years of experience in specialized communication for health and pharma sector. She's worked with different clients from hospitals, doctors, UN organizations, foundations. She worked with majors like Abbott, Sanofi, Novartis, and GCI is also one of the leading PR agencies in this space. The interesting thing what Himani believes is that healthcare communications is not about medicines or hospitals, it's about humans. And that's so true. And Himani, I was just looking at some positive quotes of elders yesterday night when we were just thinking. And the first one which came up was, as you get older, three things happen. The The first is your memory goes, and I can't remember the other two. I mean, that's what it says. I mean, this is what it is. And then the next thing came up was Buddha Hoga Tera Baap. There was a movie like that. So I think these are, as Mr. Das said, these are very stigmas and truths which are definitely there. So I mean, my question to you, Himali, is that, I mean, what role do you think, I mean, media and PR professionals can play to change this public perception? I mean, challenge this negative stereotyping.
So, thank you, Kanchan. And before I come to the question, I just want to share a very different perspective that I have. Kanchan mentioned that we are a sandwich generation. So, I'm a mother of 2 children, and I have elderly staying at home, my in-laws. So, I have seen like the both worlds. I beg to differ that why elderly are called dependents, right? I think my children are more dependent on me. I'm more dependent on my parents. As a working professional, I need them to be around because there's sanity in the house. So that's the perspective I wanted to bring, because now coming to your question, Kanchan, that's what we want to change. We should change the narrative. We need to change the narrative to the extent of breaking the negative stereotypes of dependency, taking care of the elders, because that's what we are doing for our kids as well, right? Many examples have been cited here. We all learn from examples and stories around us. When we look at screens, we buy products because we get inspired by somebody saying a story that, you know, this is a wonderful product, go buy it. When we watch a daily soap, any character that slightly resembles us, we try and form perceptions about it. I think that is where the narrative shifting needs to happen. And the wonderful stories that, you know, Anurag, you mentioned about that 100-year-old citizen, or even the example that Sharmila ji cited in her speech about the lady from Kolkata. I think those are the stories that we need to bring to life, because those are stories of achievers, those are stories of contributors. Even when I look at myself, just again sharing a personal experience, the person that Himali today is, leading an organization, working in the space of communication, is a lot of contribution that my parents, my teachers have done, right? So, and they are now in the senior citizen category. So they are contributors in my life. They have shaped me. They have played a major role in helping me become who I am. So I think when, you know, with constant education, sharing stories, talking about such experiences, bringing it out in, you know, public domain, is the contribution that media and communication professionals like us can do. So yeah, that's what I would like to share.
No, absolutely. Hello. Yes, Himani, I think you touched upon 2 very interesting anecdotes. I think who are dependent. I think that's a very, and I absolutely echo these feelings with you. I mean, post the Durga Puja, my mother is going to come and join me in Calcutta, and I'm so looking forward to it. And my life becomes so easy when she's around. And you're correct. And who is dependent? I don't know. I mean, you have to change the narrative, and that I absolutely agree with you. The other thing what I wanted to ask you, Himani, because you've also been into the healthcare space, in that communication space also, that, you know, I mean, there is a bit of a digital divide that we see. I mean, is social media helping, not helping? All of that. So how do you look at this space? I mean, any successful PR campaigns which you want to just talk about, which you've seen breaking this myths and all?
So, Kanchan, actually, uh, th- from a PR campaign standpoint or a communication standpoint, I would like to admit that less importance is given to this space, and let's admit it. The reason we have gathered here today talking about this is it hasn't seen its importance. Yes, when there is a business requirement of a pharma company, when they want to promote their product, they will talk about the need for healthcare to citizens. But as a country, have we talked about it? Government is taking many initiatives. We've heard so many earlier on this stage by different speakers. But there hasn't been a single call-out campaign that I can think of, barring what HelpAge did during the time of COVID, that Save Our Seniors, which had a purpose, which had a very defined objective and impact to share. So I think if Save Our Seniors comes very close, if I have to really think about it.
Thank you, Mali. I think maybe because of the time, we would have loved to have some more discussions on aspects related to policies or anything. But thank you to all our panelists. But before I end, any quick questions, anybody? I mean, maybe we can take one or two.
My friend said that there should be no retirement age. As long as he's healthy and gives us success, he should continue. I agree with you, but problem is, what about the generation, the younger generation which is coming? From where they will get the employment? If we don't leave the place, how they will come?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question, because actually we are limited by our thoughts. The government should provide a retirement age, private should provide a retirement age. Here we are talking about, just think of a housewife. Does she retire? Just think of some entrepreneur. Does he retire? So when I refer to that retirement, basically what I'm trying to say is that you will have to stay productively engaged. May not be productive to the extent that you were there at 40 or 45 years of age, but then you will have to stay productively engaged. That is good for, even for the aged population. The second point that I want to bring here is, India, I mean, you know what Mr. Modi has been saying, or what is the vision of India, right? Grow. Where you want to take your GDP? You know, we have all those visions. If we want to satisfy those visions or achieve those visions, then I think everybody has to contribute. It's not only the young people. I mean, today, honestly speaking, I can give my personal view, but not here. I mean, I get worried about the demographic dividend that we have today. That's a boon for us, but that could be disaster for us. So I think this is where I think all the generations will have to contribute. All the generations. The kind of knowledge, I can give one example. In our organization, there was a subject matter specialist who was about 72 years old, but we are still keeping him. He was suffering from cancer. But he used to come to the office only 2 or 3 times a day. 3 times in a week. And ultimately he passed away. But the kind of knowledge that he had, he's the guy who was referred to as the subject matter expert globally on a particular field. You cannot, do those knowledge transfer very quickly. You have to have different generations come together. So I think the second point that I wanted to say was that, look at the vision. And the third, growth. We have to do much more than what we are doing right now. And that is probably, we have that potential. It is only in our mind, we have those limiting thoughts, that our potentials are limited. So we are going to retire at 60 years, then after that we are not going to do anything. But you can always take up some of the different kind of activity. So that is what I wanted to. Does it sound okay? That part I cannot address here.
Yes, yes.
Sorry.
No,
I'll talk to you.
Yes, yes,
one to one. Thank you.
We will. Yeah. So I think you correct, sir. I think it's not about this or that. It's all about making it all together. There are different ways. It could be training. It could be something else. But what we are trying to do today is we are trying to unlock the thinking process and some great ideas have come out. I think I want to thank all the panelists for their valuable insights and expertise on this critical issue. But beyond the systems and solutions, there's one thing that I want to add is that the conversation has reminded us of one important thing, which is human connection and empathy. I think that's something that I definitely want that, while we'll talk about all of this, that's something that we should not leave. Thank you very much for bearing with us.
Thank you.
I would
and
request...
we just get a token of appreciation for our esteemed panelists, please. Thank you so much. I request my colleagues to please escort our guests back to their seats. And I will now request Mr. J.R. Gupta, a very special part of the HelpAge family, to please come and address the audience and share his thoughts. And meanwhile, I also request my colleagues to please clear the stage for the closing cultural performance.
मैं सिर्फ थोड़ा ही कहना चाहता हूँ कि हेल्पेज इंडिया बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहा है, इंडिया में भी कर रहे हैं, इंटरनेशनली भी काम कर रहे हैं, और एक हेल्पलाइन है 14567, उसको भी ये ऑर्गेनाइज कर रहे हैं, तो मैं इनको बहुत बहुत हार्दिक धन्यवाद करता हूँ। आपने टॉपिक रखा है जनरेशन टुगेदर, तो जनरली देखा गया है कि 3 जनरेशन के साथ आदमी का काम पड़ता रहता है, लेकिन मैं बड़ा लकी हूँ, मैं 4 जनरेशन के साथ काम कर रहा हूँ। मेरे फादर हैं, फादर के लड़के हैं, लड़कों के फिर लड़के हो गए, तो मैं 4 जनरेशन का भगवान की तरफ से गॉड गिफ्ट है मेरे को ये, मैं ये तो मैं बस भगवान से ही प्रार्थना करता हूँ कि जितना भी हो, जैसे भी काम हो, लोगों की सेवा करना चाहिए, और हम सेवा करने के लिए 24 घंटे काम करते हैं। रिक्रिएशन सेंटर हमारा ग्रीन पार्क एक्सटेंशन में 365 डेज एक्टिविटीज़ हम रखते हैं, और अपने सीनियर को हमेशा 24 घंटे उसका लाभ पहुंचाते हैं, और वो बड़े लोनलीनेस को हम बिल्कुल ख़त्म कर रखा हमने, ये हमारा प्रयास है। धन्यवाद आपका।
Thank you so much, Gupta ji. He's the most inspiring person and has perfectly summed up everything we've been discussing today. We now come to the conclusion of our event, and it's going to be a very exciting finale. Please put your hands together for senior citizens from the Dwarka Senior Citizens Association, who will be performing some melodious and foot-tapping numbers for us. While we get the stage set and wait, I'd like all of you to please follow us on social media and keep up with all that amazing work that HelpAge India is doing. We're on all the social media channels, and our website is also up to date. Please be engaged with us and be a part of the work. And we will look forward to having lots of these sort of events, partnerships, and opportunities to keep this amazing message going.
सब लोगों को मेरा धन्यवाद। आप लोग यहाँ आए और हमारे प्रोग्राम को सुनने के लिए आए हैं। श्री जे.आर. गुप्ता जी, श्री बलबीर यादव जी, ये हमारे सबसे ज़्यादा आदरणीय पर्सन हैं। इनके साथ ही हमने सीनियर सिटीजन में काम किया है और आज हमने ये अपना छोटा सा ग्रुप बनाया है जिसमें हम गाना गाते हैं और हमारा बहुत बड़ा सीनियर का द्वारिका का हमारा ग्रुप है। अब आप लोग ज़रा एंजॉय करिए। सबसे ज़्यादा एंजॉय आदमी गाने में और अपना बढ़िया एक साथ समय बिताने में ही कार्य करता है। तो आप लोग प्लीज़ एंजॉय करिए। तो हमारे वो भजन हैं जो कि आप लोग भूल चुके होंगे। पुरानी यादों को केवल कहिए नहीं, भूलिए मत और साथ में गाइए। तो हमारा पहला भजन जो है वो है श्री कृष्ण जी के ऊपर। आपने सुना होगा कि हमारे ये लोग ग्रुप का नाम हम बताएंगे तो हमारा टाइम और लग जाएगा, बाद में आखिरी में नाम बताऊंगी। हमारा पहला भजन है ऊधो। ऊधो और कृष्ण जी के संवाद जो है आप लोगों ने सुने होंगे। अब आप जरा उसी में एक भजन है हमारा, ये तो प्रेम की बात है ऊधो। तो जरा प्रेम के रस में डूबिए और सुनिए। जब तक मैं आप ग्रुप के लोगों का नाम बता देती हूँ जो इसमें शामिल हैं। श्री शर्मा जी, शर्मा जी हाथ ऊपर कर दीजिए अपना। श्री शर्मा जी, श्री ठाकुर जी, महेंद्र सिंह ठाकुर जी, श्रीमती ठाकुर और सुनीता जी। और हारमोनियम पे हमारे हैं श्री सतीश जी और ढोलक पे हैं मनोज जी। अब ये लोग सब मिलके आपको जो सुनेंगे आप लोग सुनिए और कृपया आनंद लीजिए। हो गया? आवाज उन्होंने खोली नहीं खोली उधर से। जी मैम, आवाज खोली नहीं खोली उन्होंने। नहीं हो गया मैम, सब सेट। अच्छा आपकी कुर्सी है। थैंक यू।
माँ सरस्वती को वंदन।
हेलो।
या कुंदेन्दु तुषार हार धवला, या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता, या वीणावरदंड मंडित करा, या श्वेत पद्मासना, या ब्रह्माच्युत शंकर प्रवृत्ति देवै सदा वंदिता, सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निशेष जाड्यापहा। माइक चले नहीं है, ऐसे बोलो, ऐसे ही बोलो। ये वहाँ तक हेलो। बोले बांके बिहारी लाल की जय। ये तो प्रेम की बात है उदो, ये तो प्रेम की बात है उदो, बंदगी तेरे बस की नहीं है, ये तो प्रेम की बात है उदो, ये तो प्रेम की बात है उदो, बंदगी तेरे बस की नहीं है, यहाँ सर दे के होते सौदे, यहाँ सर दे के होते हैं सौदे, आस की इतनी सस्ती नहीं है, कब वक्त पूछा, उनकी पूजा में सुन ले उदो। प्रेम
वालों ने कब वक्त पूछा, उनकी पूजा में सुन ले उदो।
यहाँ दम दम में होती है पूजा, यहाँ दम दम में होती है पूजा। सर झुकाने की फुर्सत नहीं है, ये तो प्रेम की बात है हो, ये तो प्रेम की बात है उदो। बंदगी तेरे बस की नहीं है, ये तो प्रेम की बात है उदो। जो असल में है मस्ती में डूबे, उन्हें क्या परवाह जिंदगी की।
मस्ती में डूबे, उनको क्या परवाह है किसी की।
जो असल में है मस्ती में डूबे, उन्हें क्या परवाह जिंदगी की। जो उतरती है चढ़ती है मस्ती, जो उतरती है चढ़ती है मस्ती, वो हकीकत में मस्ती नहीं है, ये तो प्रेम की बात है वो, ये तो प्रेम की बात है उदो। बंदगी तेरे बस की नहीं है, यहाँ सर दे के होते हैं सौदे, सर दे के होते हैं सौदे। आज की इतनी सस्ती नहीं है, ये तो प्रेम की बात है उदो। जिनकी नजरों में है श्याम प्यारे, वो तो रहते हैं जग से नियारे। जिनकी
नजरों में रहते हैं प्यारे, वो तो रहते हैं सबसे ही न्यारे।
जिनकी नजरों में है श्याम प्यारे, वो तो रहते हैं जग से नियारे। नजरों में मोहन समाए, जिनकी नजरों में मोहन समाए, वो नजर फिर तरसती नहीं है, ये तो प्रेम की बात है उदो। वो ये तो प्रेम की बात है उदो। बंदगी तेरे बस की नहीं है, यहाँ सर दे के सो दे, सर दे के होते हैं सौदे। आज की इतनी सस्ती नहीं है, ये तो प्रेम की बात है उदो।
थैंक यू सो मच। अभी वैसे वहाँ पर एक भजन और था, पर अगर अभी हमें लग रहा है सब लोग जाने में इच्छुक है, तो अब एक भजन और है, दमादम मस्त कलंदर। हाँ, आप लोग सब गाइएगा, क्योंकि टाइम कम है, इसलिए हम लोग अपना दिखा नहीं पा रहे हैं कलाकारी। तो जरा दोबारा सब लोग साथ में गाइएगा, सब साथ में।
हो रखियो भला झूले लालन ओ लाल मेरी ओ लाल मेरी पत रखियो भला झूले लालन सिंदड़ी दा सेवण दा सखी दा बाज कलंदर दमादम मस्त कलंदर अली दम दम के अंदर अली दा पहला नंबर दमादम मस्त कलंदर अली दा पहला नंबर ओ लाल मेरी ओ लाल मेरी ओ लाल मेरी पत रखियो
सदा झूले लाल ने
सेवण दा सखी दा बाज कलंदर दमादम मस्त कलंदर अली दम दम के अंदर दमादम मस्त कलंदर अली दा पहला नंबर ओ लाल मेरी ओ लाल मेरी पत रखियो भला झूले लाल ने चार चराग तेरे बलन हमेशा चार चराग तेरे बलन हमेशा पंजवा में बालन आई बला झूले लालन ओ पंजवा में बालन पंजवा में बालन आई बला झूले लालन जिंदड़ी दा सेवण दा सखी दा बाज कलंदर दमादम मस्त कलंदर अली दम दम दे अंदर दमादम मस्त कलंदर अली दा पहला नंबर ओ लाल मेरी हिंद सिंध पीरा तेरी नौबत बाजे हिंद सिंध पीरा तेरी नौबत बाजे हिंद सिंध पीरा तेरी नौबत बाजे
हिंद सिंध वीरा तेरी नौबत बाजे
नाल बजे घड़ियाल बला जुमे लालन ओ नाल बजे घड़ियाल बजे झूले लालन सिंदड़ी दा सेवण दा सखी दा बाज कलंदर दमादम मस्त कलंदर अली दम दम दे अंदर दमादम मस्त कलंदर अली दा पहला नंबर ओ लाल मेरी झूले लालन जिंदड़ी दा सेवण दा सखी दा बाज कलंदर दमादम मस्त कलंदर अली दम दम के अंदर अली दा पहला नंबर ओ लाल मेरी हरदम पीरा तेरी खैर होवे 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 नाम अली बेड़ा पार लगा झूले लालन ओ लालनी नाम अली बेड़ा पार लगा झूले लालन सिंदड़ी दा सेवण दा सखी दा बाज कलंदर दमादम मस्त कलंदर अली दम दम दे अंदर अली दा पहला नंबर ओ
आप लोग का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। अब बस अब नहीं बस
जी मैम मैं कह दूं अब थैंक यू सबको।
अब लोग जा रहे हैं ना, अगली बार कराएंगे अगली बार।
यहाँ से हमारा टाइम है एक्चुअली हमारा हॉल का टाइम
अभी ऐसा हॉल का टाइम अगली बार में तब सुनाए अभी हम इतना ही सुना रहे हैं।
Thank you so
क्योंकि हमारे
much.
कलाकार भी कम लोगों में नहीं सुनाने मिल चुके हैं, ज़्यादा लोग हों तब सुना सकते हैं। थैंक यू सो मच। नहीं वो नहीं होगा।
Thank you. Hanji. That was an amazing finale. Thank you. Hanji, I'll request our CEO, Mr. Prateep Chakraborty, to please come and offer a token of appreciation to all these amazing artists who are champions of active aging.
आज हमने अपना वो दिखा दिया बस एग्जैम्पल।
Thank you so much. I now request Mr. Prateep Chakraborty to please give the vote of thanks.
थैंक यू सो मच। तो मैं आपके और लंच के बीच में बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं आऊँगा, 1 ही मिनट तक बोलूँगा क्योंकि बहुत लोग हैं नहीं। तो उससे अच्छा कि मैं 1 मिनट 1.5 मिनट में मैं ख़त्म करने की कोशिश करूँगा, लोग ऐसे भी जा रहे हैं। So as we come to the close of this wonderful celebration of the International Day of Older Persons, I am filled with immense gratitude and joy. So on behalf of HelpAge India, I extend my heartful thanks to each one of you to make this event a grand success. अभी ऐसा लग नहीं रहा है, लेकिन वो बाहर लगेगा. First and foremost, I would like to express my deepest appreciation to our esteemed guests and speakers. Your inspiring words and valuable insights have truly enriched our understanding. So appreciation goes all due to you. यहाँ लोग हैं नहीं, लेकिन शर्मिला जी को हमारा काफ़ी धन्यवाद. मिस्टर किरण कार्निक जो हमारे बोर्ड चेयर हैं, मिसेस रुमझुम चैटर्जी जो हमारी वाइस चेयर हैं, मिसेस राधिका भरतराम जो हमारी बोर्ड मेंबर्स हैं. स्पेशल थैंक यू टू ऑल आवर सीनियर सिटीजन्स एसोसिएशन. JR गुप्ता जी दिख नहीं रहे हैं, लेकिन यहीं पर थे. एंड जो हमारे परफॉर्मर्स हैं, इंटर्न्स, स्कूल स्टूडेंट्स बेसिकली फ्रॉम बाल विकास, रियान, सेंट मार्क्स स्कूल, GD गोयनका, एवरग्रीन, हमारे स्टूडेंट्स, मॉडर्न कॉन्वेंट. I would also like to thank the media for covering this event and helping us spread awareness about the issues faced by older persons. So certainly not last but not the least, HelpAge India के जो स्टाफ हैं, काफ़ी लोग यहाँ दिखेंगे, काफ़ी लोग बाहर भी दिखेंगे. आप लोगों को वेलकम और विदा देते हुए उन लोगों को भी, स्पेशली सोनाली, अनुपमा, रोहित भी हैं, कहीं हैं, नीरजा who did the MC, and Vishnu and all the people from India International Center जो जितने भी बैकड्रॉप्स देख रहे हैं, जितना भी इलेक्ट्रिकल पार्ट्स देख रहे हैं, जितना भी आप पैराफर्नेलिया देख रहे हैं, इन्हीं लोगों का किया हुआ है. प्लस द मीडिया विच अटेंडेड दिस इवेंट एंड ऑनलाइन भी हमारा जो भी काम हुआ है. तो एज वी लीव हियर टुडे, वी कैरी फॉरवर्ड द स्पिरिट ऑफ दिस इवेंट. नेक्स्ट ईयर फिर से शायद मुलाकात होगी टू कंटिन्यू दिस वर्क दैट द सोसाइटी सो रेस्पेक्ट्स HelpAge India and all the senior citizens for. So thank you once again. Have a wonderful afternoon, and lunch आपके right side में, बाहर निकल के right side में है, so please join us for lunch. Thank you so much. और कुछ?